Hi guys, so today I'm going to show you how to change one of these into one of these. Now this is a filter tap that has the filtered water coming out of the left hand side, and then you've got your hot and your cold coming out of the single spout. So like and subscribe, join the channel, and let's show you how to do this. So the first thing we need to look at is the setup that's underneath this kitchen sink. Let's take a closer look. So as you can see here, you've got the isolation valves. This one is for the cold, and then you have got an isolation valve at this here, which is for the hot. The flexes are connected at the end. Now what we're going to need for this filter tap is a connection on this cold water pipe to come off the filter, which we're going to put around here, which is going to be an accessible area but not in the way, so it can then feed the filtered water directly to the tap. To do that, we're going to turn off this isolation valve and the isolation valve, take the flexes off, take out this old tap and put the new one in, connect the feed for the filter on here, bring that round, and that's what I'm going to show you how to do. So first things first, we're going to isolate this hot and cold, turn it 90 degrees so that it's off. We're then going to just make sure that the water is off. Maybe a little bit of water that comes out of here, but nothing much. And that should stop. Now this is isolated, what I'm going to do is take you through the simple process of doing this. So we need to take these flexes off these ends here, then up the back of there will be the nut that takes off the tap. If you want to see that in more detail, look at this video here. So next we're going to have to take the nut off the back of the tap that's holding the tap in place, which is behind here. To do that, you can use some monoblock tap spanners. So basically you can put these together and make them longer. They come in a set of 3, and you've got 6 different ends to them. And then what we can do is put that up the back and get that untightened. And then we can start to screw that nut anti-clockwise. And then that is basically the nut that was holding all that together. So once that back nut has been taken off, we can literally just pull this tap out. Like so. Once that tap's out, you might want to just give this a bit of a clean up, just in case you can see any of that grime once the new tap is on. So this is a new tap. I'm going to take all the parts out of here and we can have a look at them in more detail. Right, okay, so this is the tap out of the box. We have got the back fixing kit as well and the filter, but we're going to have a look at this when we're going to install it. So let's just have a look at the main part of the tap itself. So you've got the tap, you've got the handle that is the hot and the cold, and then you've got the filter side as well. Now we have 3 sets of flexes. Them 2 are the hot and the cold, you can see that by the colour, and then this longer one is for the filter. And in the bottom of here you have 4 holes. Now the best thing to have a look at is the instruction manual that you've got for the tap itself. At the bottom of here you can see that you've got the filter hose, you've got domestic hot red, you've got your fixing stud, and you've got domestic cold here. So what we want to do is find the fixing stud in the bottom of here, which is that bottom one there, and have a look at this drawing and then you can line it up with the bottom one there, with the bottom one there, so we know that the one to the right of that is the cold, the one to the top left is the filter, and the one to the top right is the hot water. So you can get the fixing stud out and you can put it into the fixing stud. The way to tell that the fixing stud is that it doesn't have a hole that continues through. So you can put that fixing stud and then just give it a quick tighten with a screwdriver. So that's nice and fixed. If you're looking at this diagram, you can then see that the one next to it is the cold, the one above that is the hot. So get your hot and your cold. So you can put the hot one, which is in the top, and then also the cold one, which is underneath of that. You can just screw that straight in there as well. And then you've got the filter, which is the longest, and that goes in the remaining hole, which is there. So what you've got here is the little bit that sits on the bottom of the tap and makes a decent seal against the sink itself. So you've got an upper seal that we need to put in to the bottom of here. It's going to be a bit fiddly. And that's it, so you just get that in so it's nicely sat and makes a nice seal against the sink. And then we put this on here. So I suggest that you put the filter, then the hot water nut on its side, and then the cold water. Also inside the fixing kit you've got this top hat and you've got the horseshoe metal part, the actual rubber that holds it nicely in place, and then the monoblock nut as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to put, once this is in the sink, we're going to put this one on, and then we're going to put these on, put in the screwed thread through the hole, and then this nut can then go on the screwed thread and tighten this all into the sink. So now this tap is in place, we're going to adjust it right at the last minute when we get this fixing kit on. So remember, the top hat first, then the rubber, then the metal horseshoe, and then using your monoblock spanners you can then put this nut back on there. So once that's partly tightened underneath, you can adjust this tap to where you want it to be, making sure that it's straight at the back. And then what we're going to do once that's lined up is we're going to just tighten this up fully so that tap doesn't move. Now that the tap's been tightened up, we need to adjust this pipework slightly. So for instance, that doesn't quite reach, so if we adjust this so we can get that to reach, and adjust this pipework as well. So you can get this out of the filter fixing kits. So what I can do is I can install this that way, so it's easily accessible for the on-off for the filter, and also we can then adjust this pipework along here to meet the tails for the cold water inlet. So what I've done is I've bent a bit of pipe so we can have this on there, and then this pipe can be cut to its proper length. Making sure that this piece can then be put onto this pipe that's been bent. So what I've done is I've put this bent piece of pipe on this valve here, which is technically a washing machine valve, and what we're going to do is we're going to then connect it up here and tighten this. So now we're ready to install the actual filter part of the tap itself. So this will be connected to the side of the panel. To do that we use this bracket. So using the screws with the flat end, you can then take the bracket So as I said before, this needs to be an accessible area, but not in the way. So I'm going to stick it around about here. You've then got this part, which is adapter, which is the 3/4 to the 10mm push fit, and we're going to put that on the back of this valve here. So once this is connected, we can use this blue hose 10mm push fit, and we can push it into that connection there, and this will then run round to the inlet of the valve, which is this side here. So when cutting this pipe, what I want to do is I want to make sure that I can keep this blue pipe out of the way, and I'm going to actually put some cable clips on this so it stays out of the way. So I want to cut it so it's a bit slack. And then what we can do is just with this pipe, you can then push it into the inlet of the filter. And this is slack now, so I can get some clips on there as well. The next piece you want to be thinking about is this filter flexor here. So we've got some more of the pipe which is going to come out of this end of the filter and eventually connect itself to this side of the flexor. Now I'm going to come around the top and connect in, because I want this pipe out of the way again so it's not in the way of anything. You get these in your filter kit. So before we can connect onto this flexor, we need to adapt it. So with the brass one, goes into the brass, you get these fibre washers. So stick the fibre washer in, and then the brass one adapter can go in there. Then this one can go inside of there. But what we need to do with this one is basically put some PTFE on this thread here. So when clipping these, we want to make sure that it's not being pulled right up, because it can start to leak here. You want to be pretty straight and round, so you want it quite loose so we can clip that nicely against the walls and get these pipework out of the way until the back. So what I'm using is 7 to 10 mil clips. So these are just basic cable clips. And we're just going to put them on. And then we can just hammer that in, make sure it's straight. And now we can see that pipework is clipped up and keeps this pipe out of the way so these fittings are not pulled on so it doesn't leak. The next job, turn this back on and check for leaks. So now this water's back on and there's no leaks, we can then just fit the water filter to this. So just getting the water filter and it literally sticking it in there and turning it. That's all you need to do. Remember to change these every 6 months. Now this does 5,700 litres, but as a hygiene concern, change it every 6 months, even if you don't use the 5,700 litres. So to test this, we're just going to turn on this valve here. Once that valve's been turned on, you can then turn on the actual filter bit here. Now don't worry if this comes out black or grey, it should do, just because of the carbon that's inside that filter. Let that run off till it's clear. Now give it a couple of minutes just to make sure that all that carbon's come out. Whilst that's happening, you can then check on any leaks in this part that you've installed. And that's it. So you've got the cold to the back, hot to the front, and then filtered water on the left side.